same routine. To start with your name, where you're from, and the branch of military, and how long you served.
All right. My name's Nathan Shires, from Westminster, Colorado. Born and raised down here in Littleton. Marine Corps vet, served 2000 to 04. Did the initial invasion of Iraq in 03. Did the first deployment for the Marine Corps' Westpac in support of the Twin Towers being hit.
John Walters, second class petty officer, U.S. Navy, president of Wheelers for the Wounded of Colorado.
And I am Ryan Morin, the vice president of Wheelers for the Wounded of Colorado, civilian, just all around good guy.
So when I moved up to Colorado about 6 years ago, I wanted to do something to give back to the military. So I organized some events to raise money for projects like Wounded Warrior Project and another chapter of Wheelers for the Wounded of Colorado. From that, I was contacted by the chapter in California. Turns out I grew up with one of the founding members of that group, and he really wanted me to kind of take on Wheelers for the Wounded of Colorado and build up a chapter here. After some deliberation and some thought process, I decided to do it. It was a way for me to give back to the military. Though I served and a veteran, I didn't see combat. I was in the Navy. I wanted to do more, and I saw a need. So we kind of got together. Ryan was always kind of my buddy on the trail, and he had a strong connection to the military himself. So we put this together and figured, we'll see how it goes. And it's taken off. We're about to celebrate our 4th anniversary. So it's been pretty cool, but it's just a way for us to give back.
That's what it's always been for us when we first got together, is how do we give back to those? With John being a veteran, it's kind of a little bit easier for him to understand what those guys have gone through. For me, I've had so many family members and also close friends of ours. Most of us already know. If they've come out to any of our events, we all know one of my best friends, Randy, is one of my biggest inspirations for doing this every day. He went over to Iraq and Afghanistan right out of high school. And unfortunately, as a friend, I wasn't there with him. So this is my way to get back to him and give back to all those boys who are gone, and also those women who are gone over there. And being part of the Jeep world was just kind of an added bonus for this to me. And I always thank John for the opportunity to be a part of this as well.
During recent conflicts, more than 40% of soldiers who lost consciousness met the criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder. It is estimated that nearly 1 in 3 people deployed in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, or traumatic brain injury. Returning to everyday life can be a struggle for most. Fortunately, Wheelers for the Wounded of Colorado is reaching out to these brave men and women so they don't have to go through it alone. Recently, a generous donation in the form of a 2008 Jeep Wrangler JKU was provided by Technical Sergeant Joshua Peterson, Training Chief, of the 527th Space Aggression Squadron stationed at Schriever Air Force Base. It's donations that keep nonprofits like Wheelers for the Wounded of Colorado alive and able to provide veterans a weekend of R&R. From volunteering time to donating money, every little bit helps.
So when Ryan and I sat down, when we started this up, we had a kind of a 5-year plan that we wanted to eventually have a project that we could build up, toss the keys to a veteran and say, hey, go wheel with us. We were fortunate enough that one of our supporters, Josh Peterson, had an extra Jeep, I guess, best way to put it. And he reached out to us and said he wanted to donate a Jeep to us. And so it kind of accelerated our timeline. Josh had a 2008 project that he had started, and then he turned into another project that he was working on, and that one kind of took the back seat, and he said, here, have the keys. And so we've reached out to local businesses, Trail Jeeps, Bighorn Automotive, All Seasons, 4x4, the Edge Automotive 4x4, the local shops, Northridge, to see if they could help do this. And in addition to that, we got some great support from companies like Rock Crawler, Spiderweb Shade, Warren, iDrive, Factor 55. I know I'm missing some in there, but it was just a collaboration. We had a great base on this, and we were able to start putting parts together through these great companies and this great support. And the whole idea behind it is to hand the keys to a vet on the trail and say, this is your rig for the weekend, or if this is your rig for the trail, and let them experience behind the wheel of a rig that's built for them to do cool stuff for them that they can kind of treat as their own. And, not that we want it to get destroyed, but really kind of have that, disregard for, for how it's being treated, and say, just go have some fun. Give them an adrenaline rush, give them some time behind the wheel. So it's been great to have that, and we're so grateful and thankful to everybody that's donated and supported it.
So I was working at the mall trying to figure out what branch of the service I wanted to join. Was initially thinking the Coast Guard just because of their work with the DEA and the ATF. Figured that would give me a good leg up for my law enforcement career. And the Marine recruiter came in the blues and, did their spiel. And after that, I was enlisted and off to boot camp. I spent all 4 years stationed at Camp Pendleton other than my deployments.
Can you talk a little bit about your deployments?
Sure. So the Marine Corps does a Westpac out of Camp Pendleton. And that's when we board the Navy ships and sail. We hit Singapore, Australia, Thailand, go over into the Persian Gulf, then turn around and come back. And I was actually getting my vaccinations to go overseas, sitting in the doc's office when we heard about the Twin Towers, and we were all sitting around this little 27-inch TV, my entire platoon of 35 guys, getting called one at a time to get our vaccinations while we were watching the towers. I knew immediately that we were probably going to be leaving a lot earlier than we had planned. Those Westpacs are generally about 6 months, and ours was about 9.5, 10 months. So we left about a month and a half early and stayed about 2 months or so longer than we were supposed to.
My name is Jason Pack. I live in Colorado Springs, and I served in the U.S. Army. I graduated high school from Springdale High in Arkansas, and just after high school, I knew from a kid that I wanted to be in the military. So I went down and I tried to join the Navy, and I came home and my dad looked at me, because he was a Navy man, and he looked at me and he said, "Son, you're out at sea for 6 months to a year. You'll never make it." So I was like, okay, then what do you want me to join? He says, "You can join anything but the Marines." So I went down and joined the Army. So let me say this, through our society, we don't have, like all other countries have this thing where you become a man, right? You go to like a party or you get challenged in some way to become a man. Well, that's kind of what boot camp was for me. It was that turning point in life, me realizing that, okay, now I'm a man. Because what they put you through was rigorous, it was tough, but at the same time, it was so fulfilling, you know? Absolutely loved the infantry. When didn't want to change it, but later on in life, it breaks you down to a point where you have to.
So our first event was in 2017. We'd been in operation since 2016. We just weren't able to financially fund the first year of doing that. But what this event is by invitation only. The first 3 years we did, it was strictly around the rock crawling types of thing. We invite Purple Heart and combat vets to ride along and be participants in this event. And we start off on a Friday afternoon. Everybody shows up and we have dinner that night. Saturday morning we get up, have a great breakfast, and we go hit the trail. And it's always been Holy Cross. And to run that trail, it's an epic, beautiful trail that everybody knows about. And to see those guys go through that and get that adrenaline rush, that's what it's about. A little bit of adrenaline. It's nothing like bullets whizzing by you, but it's a little bit of like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yep. Master right there. Bring her up.
We may not have all been in the same theater of action. We've had Vietnam veterans, we've had Desert Storm veterans, we've had the Gulf War veterans, and now we're in Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, all part of this, to know that we all share something in common, and it's the military. It may not be the same theater, but we've chewed on dirt. We've had a lot of the same trials and tribulations, but to get that communication back and forth, and for guys and girls to understand that they're not alone. And that's what that event's all about. It's 3 days of having some fun, sitting around, getting a little silly around the campfire, telling war stories. The groups will split off. There'll be a couple of people that'll step off to the side, and that's when the healing happens around the fireplace, around the campfire. There's some tears, there's some laughter. That's what it's about. It's really vets helping vets, and no one can understand what a vet went through except another vet. So having that communication and having that you're not alone, especially now with PTSD, a lot of people think they feel isolated, like they're the only ones going through this, and to be able to put themselves with a bunch of other people that have gone through it and are struggling the same way they are, and learning how they're coping with it. That's what that event's about.
I got out into May 2004. I was 36 hours before being stop lost, which is basically the military's way of saying you're not going anywhere, we're keeping you under contract. When I got out, I had just been back from Iraq for I think it was about 8 months. Like I said, I did the invasion of Iraq in 2003, started in Kuwait. Bush declared war, we went into Iraq. I was the 4th vehicle pushing north for the Marine Corps, and we were the first unit outside of Special Forces to actually enter in Baghdad. General body pain, mild TBI, PTSD, anxiety, depression, anger, rage. I came back. When I got out, my middle child was still in infancy. He was born about 30 days before I got out of the Corps. Came back, started using drugs, ended up being pretty heavy into the drug use to mask my pain and deal with my PTSD, would shove the family to the side, would pretty much be out in my garage by myself, just kind of wallowing in anger and self-pity and being worthless. When I tried to come back and apply for the police academy, I was denied. They picked up on my rage and anger issues and said I wouldn't be a good fit. So suddenly my whole life plan had kind of disappeared due to the fact of what I had seen and how it made me react.
My first actual deployment, I went to Romania, which was it was a mission to where we trained it was the first NATO forces training opportunity that we had with 9 different nations. And that was an experience in itself, because you're with 9 different infantrymen, countries they're all infantrymen from 9 different countries, all in one spot, and you're training together. And it gets pretty wild. My second deployment was to Croatia. That was, I maybe shouldn't say this because Hillary might hunt me, but I helped pick up Ron Brown's plane crash in Croatia. And my next deployment was Bosnia and Herzegovina. I spent 6-7 months there between Olivo and Sarajevo. And from my next deployment was Afghanistan. First of all, I couldn't remember anything because I had taken a IED strike and it rung my bell pretty good. So dealing with that was really, really tough, because my poor wife, and just before I left for Afghanistan, I had my second boy, or my wife had my second boy. And so when I got home, I was dealing with that and all the issues that I was having. And because I was having a lot of back pain, I was having constant headaches, memory loss, and it's still to this day, I have memory loss. Sometimes I can't remember my own name. I'm just kidding. But the hardest thing is just learning to trust. I know it's hard to understand, but learning to trust the fact. Well, let me put it to you this way. I have a really great wife, okay? I have an angel as a wife, because through it all, she finally had to sit me down one day because I would just lose it. I'd start screaming, yelling, getting angry, because she would tell me that we're going to the store, and then she would say, I'll be right back, and she'd come back, and then I wouldn't remember that she had told me that we were going to the store, and so I'd lose it. And finally one day, I guess she kind of understood what was going on. She sat down and she said, look, I'm never gonna lie to you. I'm never gonna tell you anything that's not true, and I need you to just trust me. And so at that moment, it was like a little, something went off in my head and said, okay. And I also saw the look on her face.
I mean, the VA did what it tried to do, what it could do. It took me over 12 years to get a disability rating through them. Part of that was they weren't prepared for how many people were coming. Most wars, they would see 30 to 40% of veterans coming back with mental illness or other ailments or something. With the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, it's closer to 80% of all veterans that go over. So the VA was just woefully underprepared for the amount of people that they were going to see coming back.
See, I'm a very prideful person, and I haven't gone to the VA yet to get my ratings. So I try to stay away from the VA because I don't trust them, unfortunately. I just don't trust them.
I don't even remember how I found the Wheelers for the Wounded, but I did the first year, and that was awesome. I wasn't able to do the second year. I had relapsed on my drug usage and was using methamphetamines. I called up John about 3 weeks before we were supposed to go to the event, and I was like, sir, you need to give this spot to another veteran. I've got to go find a rehab program. I can't, I was getting ready to lose my family, my wife, my kids, and just needed to make a change. And John knew this place called Camp Hope down in Texas. It was a 9-month inpatient program for me to get sober and refine my faith in God and everything. And if it weren't for John and this organization, I probably would have lost my family, honestly. My wife I was kicked out of the house, was not allowed to see my kids. And I, had to tell John just to give up that spot. And he was like, well, here, call these guys, see if they can help you out. And now I'm here. I'm 18 and a half months clean and sober. I'm back with my family. Me and my wife are doing awesome. I went to year 3, got to do the Holy Cross, and I'm ready to do year 4 and do the Overland Adventure. But these guys really have, if it weren't for them, I don't think I'd still be here, and definitely wouldn't have my family with me.
Well, anytime that I've been out several times with them now, and it has been an experience that I've never experienced before. As in, well, let me try to remember the first time, because the first time I went out, I was a little bit skeptical because I didn't really know what to expect, because I was being put with a driver I'd never met. I didn't know, he had called me prior to, and I think as anybody that's ever served, we're kind of standoffish at first, just trying to figure out what's going on and who's doing what and who this individual is that I'm gonna be riding with. And, but that all went out the window really quick, because it was, at that point, I was having a real hard time even walking, let alone, and I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna get into this Jeep. It ended up not being, well, it was a Jeep frame pretty much, and it was just pretty much a rock crawler. And the thing rode like a Cadillac over big, huge boulders. And it was just the greatest time of my life. And I found myself opening up to this guy I never even met or didn't know. And it was a release, because civilians don't understand. They go about their lives every day, and they don't know. They just don't know. And for us, every day we drive down the road, we're checking the sides of the highway. We're checking the person next to us. We're looking in our mirrors the whole entire time we're driving. We're expecting the worst, you know, and going on this journey with Wheelers for the Wounded, being in that vehicle in the mountains, breathing that fresh air was a release, just in that. And then once you're done with the ride, you come home and they barbecue for you, they cook you meals, you sit down and you start chatting with the other service members, and you get to know what they went through. And then sometimes you look at it and you go, well, shoot, man, I guess it's not so bad for me, you know? But it's great to know that, and I want to say this and I want to repeat it, because service members all the time forget this. You're not alone. You're not alone. And I've even met guys that have been on deployments. Like, I have a friend that went to Bosnia with me, and he's struggling at this moment. And all he needed to hear was, you're not alone, you know? So, and that's great to know, because you look around when you're at the campfire and you're surrounded by 20 different people that have gone through the same thing you've gone through. Maybe not to the exact, but they struggle with the same things that you struggle with. So, yeah.
So to me, what it means when I see these guys, you know, and they're hanging out, telling war stories, having a great time, for me, it shows an aspect of healing that I don't think a lot of other civilians get to see. So deep inside, emotionally wise, it gives me a great feeling to see that, because up until 5 years ago when we started this, I didn't realize how deep some of these guys had gotten when it comes to PTSD and some of the stories that they had that they just weren't telling. Again, one of my closest friends would not talk. And so when I see these guys so happy and I see them have a killer weekend, and, you know, big shout out to the Forest Service for allowing us to set up there, and giving us the opportunity to do that, and watching these guys go from, you know, when they show up on Friday is, you know, Friday afternoon, it kind of seems like, oh, well, we're here in the woods, till Friday and Saturday night when we have 4 hours of video that we can't show because it's X-rated as at the very least, and they're having a great time and everybody's laughing. And then you hear about the stories that come out afterwards, the lasting friendships that are made, the lasting communication that happens, the guys that come over and over and over, those guys that we see all the time. It makes me as a civilian feel like I am finally able to give back to those guys who volunteered to do, or some of those that didn't volunteer. You know, that were selective service drafted into like Vietnam, but it's my way of finally feeling good about giving back. I've always given a few bucks here and there, and I've always tried to donate to veteran causes in the past, but I've never actually had that feeling of I'm actually doing good. And when I see these guys smiling, having a good time, last year when I was cooking for them, it wasn't just standing over a blazing hot inferno of a furnace, but it was making dinner for guys that deserved it. It impacts me a lot more than I think a lot of people believe it does, just because of that feeling of saying I gave back, that this is my way of saying thank you for what you're doing. Welcome home. You're never alone. You'll always have somebody to talk to. And if you don't feel like you can talk to me, I will find you somebody to talk to. And that's what it does for me.
You walk past them every day. You don't know it, but they are there. You probably don't notice them because they don't ask for anything in return for serving our country. They are the strongest, most proud, and the bravest. They are mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, nephews, nieces, cousins, and friends. They are the ones that deserve our gratitude, support, and generosity. Everyone has a story. Some begin before you were born. Some begin at the time your story begins. And some begin when an oath is taken. For those that have taken the oath to defend our country, their story doesn't end when their service ends. Those stories just get deeper and more complex. It takes a simple reminder: we are there for you. You are not alone. This is what Wheelers for the Wounded of Colorado is here for.
You doing? My name's Dusty Rhodes. I'm a Vietnam veteran. Served 14 months in 68, 69. Was an E5. Did communications attached to the 101st, 3rd of the 506. And I'm here with these Jeep guys that just having a ball. And I got to say, it's the first time anybody's done anything for me that didn't know me since I come home from Nam, and it's awful humbling. So I appreciate it tremendously, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Hey, I'm CJ. We're out here for the Wheelers for the Wounded of Colorado. I'm from Castle Rock, stationed at Buckley. I'm active duty Air Force, and we're out here wheeling Holy Cross and had a great time. We're out here with a whole bunch of vets with disabilities or just served in the military prior, and it's a great opportunity for us to come out here, hang out, be able to have common conversation with one another that civilian life might not understand, and just have an all-around great time. It was a great environment and totally had a blast.
Hi, my name is Morgan Houston. I'm from Littleton, Colorado. I was in the Air Force. I'm separated for about 15 years now. This was a wonderful weekend, getting a chance to meet a lot of new vets. Most of my guys weren't around, so I don't get a chance to hang out with them, so it was nice to meet a new group of guys and gals that was really great. And this is my first time wheeling, so it was awesome. It's a good time hanging out with all you guys.
I'm Tim. We're out here for Wheelers for the Wounded. I'm prior service Army. We came to Colorado a few years ago and just got involved with this group recently, and it has really done wonders for the veteran community.
Hi, Jerry Verostic from me, Colorado. Served in the Marine Corps 2002, 2006. Found out about Wheelers for the Wounded, Colorado. Last honor flight they did. Thought it was real cool service that they're doing for wounded vets and stuff, and decided to become part of it and become a driver for this event. And it is just amazing. It's amazing to see the guys have a good time out here. Everybody enjoyed themselves. We hit the trail, hit it real good. A lot of fun up there, for sure.
Hi, my name is Kayla McCullough. I was Navy. I'm from Broomfield, Colorado, and this weekend was great. Gotta go out, gotta hang with all the vets, have a good time, go out on a trail, and it was great.
Matt Owens, Army. The weekend was nice. It was nice getting out, getting in the wilderness, doing a little iffy maneuvers, and it was nice. It was really nice. It was a really nice way to get away from everything, not have to worry about if the kids are gonna get in trouble or get on my nerves, get on my wife's nerves, and then I hear that. But it's been nice. It really has.
I'm Quentin. Served 4 years in the Marine Corps. Actually got to go out with the Wheelers, and it was awesome. I got my heart pumping again, got my adrenaline pumping, and it gave me some life back, and I really enjoyed it and I appreciate it. And y'all family now, and I always help y'all.
We don't do what we do without the help of everybody else out there. Support from the individuals, from the industries that are out there, the companies that want to support us. We have a very modest budget. We're not asked for much every year. Our big thing is we fundraise all year long to put on that that one epic event a year. But it costs money to run these organizations. You have to have insurance. You have to have there's CPA fees, et cetera, et cetera. There's stuff that goes in the administrative side of that. So every dime and dollar helps. So we appreciate everything that everybody does for us, and we try to be as frugal as we can to try to touch as many people as we can. And that's what it is. So don't be on the fence. Please help support this organization.
Goddamn officer, what do you know about sophistication?
This is British officer. Go over there and lose
That was a
yourself
big
in
word for you.
What was your favorite part of this weekend?
Honestly, just being around these guys. I mean, I got some good friends, up by where I live, and it took a while to warm up to them, and I guess to warm up to me. But the very first night, we just sat down for the fire, and I'm like, I just felt like I was home.